Good morning, Unity Center members, and good morning to those of you who are joining us virtually for the very first time. Wherever you are and whatever your spiritual journey has been, we welcome you here into the Unity experience, where we believe that all paths, all spiritual traditions and religions can help one move into a relationship with God by whatever name we call that one presence and one power. My name is Wendy Craig-Purcell, and I am the minister of the Unity Center. And obviously, because here in California, we are being asked to shelter inside, we're not able to deliver this service from our beautiful Unity Center campus in San Diego. However, when we do get back to being able to do church the way we are most used to doing it and the way that allows us to be together in person, if you live in the San Diego area, I invite you to come and check us out some Sunday. So I'm going to do my best this morning to present a virtual version of what we do as a full team at the Unity Center on a normal Sunday morning. So I'm going to start with the striking and the playing of our antique Tibetan singing bowl. And I encourage you just to sit back and to listen to the sound as it begins to radiate outward and begins to become a little more quiet and a little softer. And allow that process to help you begin to center in to this time, this experience, this opportunity to be together in consciousness. Let us join together now in just a moment of centering prayer. As we close our eyes, we shut out any distractions around us, that we might be fully present in this time and in this experience. Let us know together that no matter where we are and no matter what is going on around us, there is the presence and power of Spirit of God within. And we turn our attention to that now, clearing our minds that we can be present to and for that still small voice of truth within. And we open our hearts that we can experience the feeling of compassion, that we can practice being gentle with ourselves and with one another during this truly challenging time. time. I hold the intention, I hold the prayer that this brief service together this morning will give us a measure of peace and comfort and help us to deepen into our faith. And so it is. And so we begin. Amen. In trying to put together a version of our normal service for you this morning, I wanted to bring in some music. And so this is a big experiment. I'm really glad that I'm doing a series based on Brene Brown's book, The Gifts of Imperfection. So we've practiced a lot to see if this will work. I sure hope that it does. But I think this particular piece of music will bring a great deal of comfort and joy and heart opening, especially to those of you who call the Unity Center your regular spiritual home.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a soul like me. Grace that taught my heart to fear, and grace my fears relieved. How precious did that grace appear the hour I first believed. 1, 2, 3, through many dangers, toils and snares, have I already come. Yeah, 'tis grace that brought me safe thus far. And grace will lead me home. When we've been here 10,000 years, bright shining as the sun. Yeah, well, we've no less days than to sing my great God's praise than when we first begun. Yes, you know that I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see. Yeah, I was blind, but now I see.
Man, it's not easy to sit listening to a song that just has all of us up on our feet at the Unity Center. Jimmer Bolden, thank you so much for being our friend, for being a member of the Unity Center, and for giving me permission to bring you into the service this way. I know it fed my heart and spirit, and I'm sure it did our Unity members that are listening in. So I want to share with you some readings this morning that support the message that we're going to be exploring a little bit later on. And the message is cultivating meaningful work, letting go of self-doubt and supposed twos. So this first reading is from Viktor Frankl. Life is never made unbearable by circumstances, but only by lack of meaning and purpose. From Pablo Picasso, the meaning of your life is to find your gift. The purpose of your life is to give it away. From Robert Byrne, the purpose of life is a life of purpose. From Brian Tracy, to be truly happy, you need a clear sense of meaning and purpose in life. From Maya Angelou, there is no greater agony than bearing an untold story inside you. Here's one from Mark Twain. I've always enjoyed this one. The two most important days in life are the day you are born and the day you find out why. One from Oprah Winfrey. There is no greater gift you can give or receive than to honor your calling. It's why you were born and how you become most truly alive. And here's one from the poet Khalil Gibran. Your work is your love made visible. Your work is your love made visible. And so we're going to move into a time of meditation together. And for those of you who are metaphysical students, students of unity or science of mind, you know how important a time of meditation and a time of really quieting the mind and opening the heart is to our whole experience of growing as spiritual beings. And so I invite you to find a very comfortable position wherever you are. Maybe you're in your pajamas, maybe you're watching alone, maybe you're with family or friends. But for now, get into as comfortable a position as you can and go ahead and close your eyes. And we're going to move into our meditation with the practice of mindful breathing, specifically being aware of each breath as we take it into the body and each breath as we let it go. And one of my favorite ways to begin a meditation practice is to use a teaching I learned from Thich Nhat Hanh's meditation practice a long time ago. And it is that with the first out breath, you practice the feeling of letting go. With the second out breath, you practice the feeling of being right here, fully present in your body, in your chair, wherever you are. And with the third out breath, you practice the feeling of opening or the feeling of clearing. And so we repeat that cycle. And so I invite you again, if you haven't closed your eyes, to do so. And to go ahead and take a nice deep breath in. Just really feel the air filling your lungs. And then as you let that breath go, feel the feeling of letting go, of release. And breathing in again deeply, a deep breath in. And as you let that breath go, practice a feeling of being fully present, fully present. And breathing in again deeply. And breathing out. And practicing the feeling of opening up. Now continue with that steady focus, breathing in a very mindful way at whatever pace is natural for you. Each time breathing in, the feeling of peace perhaps, and then breathing out, letting go, breathing out, being here, breathing out, opening up. And as you hear the sounds of one of Janet Hammer's beautiful chants, I invite you to continue in that practice of letting go, being here, and opening up. Letting go being here, opening up, aware of each breath in, each breath out, letting go, being here, opening up. Continuing to be with each mindful breath. Allow your attention now to move to the area of your heart, the center of your chest. Imagining each mindful breath is moving in and through the heart center. With each breath in, breathing in the feeling of peace. And with each breath out, breathing out the feeling of calm. With each breath in, breathing in the feeling of peace. With each breath out, breathing the feeling of calm. Continuing to focus gently yet steadily on the breath. Continuing to be aware of the heart. And join me, if you will, in not only experiencing a sense of peace and calm for yourself, a peace and calm that is truly not dependent on anything external, for it is an internal experience. And so join me as you experience a deepening of your own quiet, of your own stillness, and of your own peace in imagining those calming feelings radiating out from you, from your heart. Sending that quality of calm and peace beyond your physical being. Perhaps even calling to mind certain family members or friends or people that you might have been concerned about, might be concerned about. Our country, our world, our human family. And just imagining holding all of that, as much of that, in an embrace of compassion as you can. Continuing in that space and that experience, mindful of the breath, heart-focused, radiating peace and calm and compassion as you listen again to the rest of the chant. And join me and take a nice deep breath in. Let that breath go. And so it is. Amen. And amen. And if you do happen to be sitting with a family member or a friend, take a moment to greet them as we do at the Unity Center with the salutation, Namaste, meaning that which is divine in me recognizes that which is divine in you. Namaste. And take a moment if you need to kind of move around a little bit in your chair or wherever you may be. And this would be the time in our service that I would be introducing special music that would support the message. And I am going to introduce some special music, and I want to thank one of my favorite New Thought singers and recording artists, Denise Rosier, for giving me permission to share this song in this way with you. Its message is absolutely perfect for what we're experiencing all across the world right now in our human family. And the name of this song is Between Us.
Love is alive in the space between us. Feel that love right now. God speaks out in the words between us. Hear those words right now. I am holy. You are holy. There is beauty between us. Spirit shines in the light between us. See that light right now. Peace is born in the good between us. Be that peace right now. I am holy. You are holy. between us.
Affirm that with me. Love is alive in the space between us. Love is alive in the space between us. I want to encourage you wherever you may need to go, when it is a place you really need to go in this next period of time. Let that be your mantra. As you get out of the car, if you need to go to the grocery store and stand in that long line or whatever it is that we're adjusting to now, let that be your mantra. Love is alive in the space between us. And visualize that as we keep that 6-foot distance walking around. Love is alive in the space between us. And again, I want to thank our musicians for giving me permission to bring their music into this service in a less than perfect way. So God bless you, and we'll make sure that your listeners and viewing audiences will know how to purchase these CDs and support our musicians. So as I said, we have been in an exploration of Brene Brown's book, The Gifts of Imperfection. And this is a series I did several years back, in fact, right after the book came out. And it was so well received that I had so many requests over the last months, would I please repeat it? And so each of these lessons, I believe, based on the different chapters in her book, really can stand alone and give us a solid concept to practice and to hold on to. If you want to go back, all of the lessons are on our Unity Center YouTube channel, so you can pick them up there. Today we are looking at the idea of cultivating meaningful work and letting go of self-doubt and supposed to. So cultivating meaningful work. One of the things that Brene found early in her research of people who live from a place of wholehearted living is that they all engaged in meaningful work. Now, they didn't always call it meaningful work. Some of them referred to it as actually a calling. She said others would talk about it in terms of a feeling of a tremendous sense of accomplishment and purpose that they got from their work. You know, depending on when were our most formative years, depending upon what kind of messaging we got from friends and peers and family members, we may have grown up with a mindset that's kind of negative about work. That work is just something you gotta do. And I was thinking about this yesterday, that often we think of work in terms of what we get from it, what we earn by it. And certainly, as responsible adults, we need to earn a living. It's not about abandoning that. But I think of work much more in terms of what we become, not what we get, although we will receive something, but much more important in terms of what we become. Here's some of what Brene found in her research. What she found is we all have gifts and talents. We would absolutely agree with that in New Thought. We all have gifts and talents. When we cultivate those gifts and share them with the world, we create a sense of meaning and purpose in our lives. She found that squandering our gifts causes us distress. As it turns out, she writes, it's not merely benign or too bad if we don't use the gifts that we've been given. We pay for it. We pay for it with our emotional and physical well-being. If we don't use our talents to cultivate meaningful work, we struggle. We feel disconnected. We feel weighted down. These are her words, weighted down by the feelings of emptiness, frustration, resentment, shame, disappointment, fear, and even grief. That's quite a list. If that's not enough to prompt us to look more deeply within and ask of ourselves, am I involved? Am I engaged in work that really speaks to my soul? Am I living a sense of purpose? And if not, what can I do about that? How can I bring more of that into my life experience? I truly believe that there is a link between living from a sense of purpose and living from a sense of our calling and our connection with God by whatever name we call God. And that when we are about the work that we have come here to do, when we are about discovering and using our gifts, we feel a stronger connection not only with God, but what also happens is we are more connected to that divine mind, more connected to that divine presence, and we are inspired. And that inspiration moves us forward into ever-expanding circles of opportunity and growth. Using our gifts and talents to create meaningful work, though, takes courage. It takes courage, it takes a willingness sometimes to stretch into something brand new. And one of the things that we have to be aware of is that in stepping into more meaningful work, we're going to have to look at ourselves more deeply. We're going to have to perhaps reevaluate what some of our priorities have been. We may have to look again at some of the messages that we have received. It's true that one of the reasons it can take greater courage to step out into more of what we would call a calling or meaningful work is because it may not pay the bills in the same way. Now stop for a moment. Don't tune me out. Sit with this for just a moment. There is a way for us to be able to live from a sense of our purpose and our gifts, even if we can't find a job that encompasses all of that. It takes courage, I believe, to simply be willing to look deeply within and try to understand what we're really about, and try to understand what our unique talents and gifts are, and then to be curious, where and how can I at least bring some of that into the work that I do right now? I think of two of my favorite New Thought recording artists who left very successful careers to pursue their gifts of music, their gift of inspiration. Those two artists that I'm thinking of are Daniel Nahmod. Hi, Daniel. I'll be bringing some of your music in a couple of weeks as well. Daniel was a very successful computer programmer. He's one of the greatest lyricists and songwriters and New Thought artists that I know of. Denise Rosier, you just heard her beautiful song, Between Us, was a very successful software engineer. And I know for a fact that both of them had to do some inner work to get to a place where they stepped away from that and eventually moved full into this work. And those of you who are familiar with their beautiful music, I'm sure join me in a deep sense of gratitude that they had that courage, right? How many people have they inspired because of their courage to do what they're really called to do? Now stop for a moment, because you may have that mental chatter that's saying, oh yeah, but I'm not an artist, I'm not an entertainer, I'm not a musician, I don't create X. That may be true. But it is also true that every single one of us, no matter what we may have been told to the contrary, every single one of us do have gifts to share. They're not all the same. They shouldn't be all the same. What a boring world it would be if everybody's gift was exactly the same. We need the uniqueness that each of us brings. It's easy for us to get into a cycle of critical thinking and of self-doubt, and to think, well, yeah, you know, Denise Rosier or Daniel Nahmod or this person or that person, they have gifts, but not me. That's not true. And what I have found to be true is sometimes other people see some of our gifts in us before we do. Sometimes other people can see in us what we haven't seen, what we haven't really explored. I'm thinking of two of our finest facilitators at the Unity Center, Leah Torreggiano and her husband, Mike Bugera. They are, in my opinion, some of our finest small group facilitators. But it wasn't until we looked at them and saw something in and about them and said, would you be willing to kind of facilitate one of our small groups? And if my memory is correct, there was a little bit of a hesitation and a little bit of a, oh, you want me to do what? Am I really ready for that? I'm not sure if those were exactly their words, but it was certainly kind of the feeling that they expressed. And I believe it was because they had not ever considered themselves in that capacity. And not only can they do that work, I would say it is absolutely a gift of theirs. It is a gift that not everybody has, to be able to know how to bring a group together in conversation, to create a safe space where everybody can be heard. Wouldn't you say the world would be better if we had more people that were able to do that? And that those for whom that is a natural gift, that they were encouraged to use that gift? It creates the opportunity for people to be vulnerable and to grow and to share. Circling back to the ideas in this chapter of Brene Brown's book, the idea of cultivating meaningful work and of letting go of self-doubt and supposed tos. She identifies those two, self-doubt and supposed to, as the obstacles that get in our way of really cultivating meaningful work. In other words, really identifying, cultivating what we're good at and bringing that into our life experience. She writes, self-doubt undermines the process of finding our gifts and sharing them with the world. And if developing and sharing our gifts is how we honor spirit and connect with God, then self-doubt undermines our faith with fear. That's a powerful statement. Let me repeat it. If developing and sharing our talents and gifts is how we honor spirit and how we connect with God, then self-doubt undermines our faith with fear. See if you can relate to any of these supposed tos that she identifies. Can you relate to these? You're supposed to care about making money, not meaning. You're supposed to grow up and be a blank. Everyone's counting on you to be that. You're supposed to hate your work. That's the definition of work. If you're brave, you're supposed to quit work and follow your bliss. Don't worry about money. Those supposed tos get in our way. For most people, work is about doing, a means to an end. Purpose or calling, what Brene is writing about, what I'm speaking about, is about being and becoming. And it requires us to examine our self-doubts and our supposed tos. She says we have to start owning the messages. We have to ask ourselves, what is it that makes us afraid? What's on our supposed to list? We don't really have any excuses right now, do we, for going deeper into this inner work. We have probably more time on our hands, or at least time in a different way, than we have perhaps ever before, and that we may never have again in the same way. So there really isn't an excuse to say, well, I just, I don't have the time to do this inner spiritual work that you're talking about. We really do. And I would dare say the quality of your life depends on it. A deeper, more loving question would be, who are you truly? Who are you truly? And what have you come here to be? Who are you truly? And what have you come here to be? It's a struggle to define ourselves, really. And so often, when we meet people for the first time, for example, what is usually one of the first questions we ask of each other after we get over, what is your name and so forth, Usually one of the first questions is, what do you do? What do you do? I often cringe when I'm flying alone and somebody is a seat companion of mine and they turn to me and they say, what do you do? I think, oh, do I really want to say I'm a minister? And then I have to explain, but I'm not what you might think of a minister. And you don't have to tell me why you don't go to church or anything like that. But that's such a narrow definition for many of us when we're asked, what do you do? Meaning, what do you do for a living? Doesn't really encompass the fullness of who we are. And right now, because so much is in flux for us in our world and economically, many people are either being furloughed or losing their jobs, or if they have a small business, that business may not survive this time. And so for many people, this could be a very critically valuable and important time of reflecting upon what is it that I could be doing now? What is it that, given I may not continue to do what I'd been doing before, if I could do anything, what would that be? If I could do anything, what would that be? And how might I be able to do that in a way that it does create a flow of prosperity and abundance back to me? I'm reminded of the work of author Mary Abler. She wrote the book, One Person, Multiple Careers, the New Model for Work-Life Success. I'm a deeply spiritual person, but I'm also extremely practical. And I love unity because it was first called Practical Christianity. And I believe that in the pursuit of work that is meaningful and pursuing a calling, we do still need to be realistic about how do we pay the bills. And what I like about Marcy Abler's approach, One Person, Multiple Careers, is her book is full of stories about people who've created meaningful work by refusing to be defined by a single career. And in her book, she gives examples like these: longshoreman, documentary filmmaker; management consultant, cartoonist; lawyer, chef. I like this one. Rabbi, stand-up comic; surgeon, playwright; investment manager, rapper, and so on, as a way to integrate the multifacets of a person's being. That may be the way you and I get to step into a greater degree of meaningful work in our lives. I'm reminded of a story that Brene gives in the book that I really liked. Brene was at a conference and she met a woman who was an accountant, and Brene was excited to meet her because Brene had actually bought some earrings from this woman online. And when she got a chance to meet her, Brene asked her, well, how long have you been a jewelry maker? And the woman said, well, I'm not a jewelry maker. I'm a CPA. I just do that on the side. I'm not a real jewelry maker. And I love the way Brene put it. She said her thought to herself was this: but I'm wearing your earrings right now, not your abacus. I'm wearing your earrings right now, not your abacus. So use this time well. Use this time well. Don't let yourself get sucked into panic and worry and fear. If you're there, acknowledge it, but do whatever you can do. Go outside, get a breath of fresh air, turn on some positive music, dance by yourself in the house, do something to get yourself out of any space of fear and panic, and then take a deep dive into yourself. Take a deep dive into yourself, trusting yourself, believing that you are enough. Especially when you're playing into your gifts, you are more than enough. Be willing to let go of any of the messages that you got growing up or that the world seems to be giving you now, that you're supposed to be X. You probe deeper into what is it that you are called here to be now. Now is the perfect time for it. Theologian Howard Thurman writes, don't ask what the world needs. Ask what makes you come alive and go do it. because what the world needs is people who have come alive. Namaste, and God bless you. And so we move now into a time in our service where I would be having the joyful opportunity to acknowledge and welcome those who were brand new sitting in our sanctuary. I'd be inviting them to join us for a wonderful, cafe latte or a mocha in our Sangha cafe. We would be handing out guest packets, but not able to do that right now. It would also be the time that we would encourage people to actually spend some time finding a spiritual teaching and spiritual community that they can connect with, because that's how we grow spiritually. And whether that's unity or not, we still encourage people to keep on looking until they find a spiritual teaching path and a community that they feel comfortable in, because that's when we grow and flourish personally and spiritually. It is also the time in our service that we would be sharing some information and announcements, which I want to do very briefly right now. Midweek Zoom check-ins. I am going to start offering on Wednesday morning and Wednesday evening an opportunity to join me for a Zoom chat. It's not going to be very structured. It's just an opportunity for us to see one another face to face and connect. There's not going to be any cost to this. You will need to register, and you will need to pay attention to emails from the Unity Center that will tell you how to get onto one of those Wednesday morning or Wednesday evening Zoom check-ins. Also want to acknowledge once again my gratitude for the musicians that allowed me to use their music this morning. To our beloved Jimmer Bolden, he has several CDs that you can get online. To our beautiful music director, Janet Hammer, this is her chant CD. We always use music from her chants on Sunday morning, and from Denise Rosier. And each of them have more than one CD. So please consider supporting our musicians, especially at a time like this. Just a few announcements about upcoming events. Our improv class, Improv, a spiritual journey class led by John Michael Mowry, is going to be rescheduled as soon as we are not on shelter at home or shelter in place. We will let you know, and we will reschedule that class. My April Women's Sacred Circle that was scheduled for this Wednesday is not going to be held this Wednesday. I will reschedule it, and I'll let you know when it will be rescheduled. And I do want to express my gratitude for the continued support and generosity of our Unity Center community and our online audience. You can contribute via the Unity Center app. If you don't have our app, now's a great time to get it. You can download it wherever you download your apps. It is free, and there's lots of good information on the app. And through the app, you can make a one-time gift or set up an ongoing gift. And you can still contribute via check if that is your preferred way of giving. And so knowing that many of you have already shared your gifts for the month or the week, join me in just imagining that you're holding that gift in your hand, or if you are going to be sending something in, hold that in your hand or in your mind as we bless both our gift and the act of giving with this affirmation. Just follow it along silently with me. Divine love flowing through me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. And so it is. Amen. May the rest of your day be as peaceful as possible. If there is some way that the Unity Center, our prayer team, myself, can be of support to you, if there's something you need, at least reach out to us. I can't promise that we can make it happen, but we'll do our very best to see what we can do to help you get connected and get whatever it is you need. Join me now as we close with our prayer of protection. And boy, do I miss having our wonderful, precious children leading this closing prayer, but I'll lead it tonight or today. So close your eyes with me as we join together in our prayer of protection. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, wherever we go, God is, and all is well. Amen and namaste.